Alright, so I thought I'd tell a few stories related to Albuquerque when I lived there. I lived there for about a year and 8 months. The first one that comes to mind, I was living on Mesa, which just a few blocks off of Central, and I think Coal and Lead. It was between Coal and Lead on Mesa. That's where I lived. And down a few blocks was Dunkin' Donuts, and I'd go down there and get a sandwich once in a while, and whatever, get some coffee or donuts. They were open late, so it was a quick walk, and they had a really good like egg and cheese ham sandwich thing, whatever. So one night, it was probably around 8 or so, I walked down there and went in and ordered a sandwich or something. I don't remember what I ordered exactly. And I sat down at a table, and across the way there was a guy sitting there reading a book. And he had a hat on, and he had some punk rock pins, and I could see a Dead Kennedy's pin on his hat. And back then, in 1990, would have been 1992, seeing anybody punk rock related caught my eye. I mean, there were punk rockers around in 1992, but it still was like they stood out, for sure. He didn't exactly look punk rock, though he had like punk rock pins on his hat. So I said something like, "Right on, man, you like Dead Kennedys?" And he looked over at me and he was like, "Yeah." You know, and he looked down, he was reading his book. He didn't really respond. That's all he said. And it was just like a quick, like, "Yeah," and back into his book or whatever he was doing, writing, I don't know, something like that. And I thought that was kind of a weird response. So I asked him something again. I think I got kind of another response, and the guy seemed like he was kind of uncomfortable. So at one point I asked him, "Hey, is everything going okay? You all right?" And he turns and looks at me and goes, "No, you wouldn't believe me if I told you." And, like there's something really wrong, right? And the fact that I wanted to, be his friend because he likes punk rock, and, most people that I knew that liked punk rock back then, I could get along with. It seemed like, that was kind of the thing. So I went over and sat by him. I was like, "Well, what's going on, man? Wow, trying to spark a conversation." It kind of concerned me. And I'm not the one to just split and go, "Whatever, dude, later." I sat down by him and talked to him. I was like, and he was just like, "Believe me, man, you don't want to know. It's not even a good idea that I tell you." I'm like, what the hell? And he says, "Well, literally, you talking to me now, you're putting yourself in danger. So now I'm really curious." I'm like, "Man, why don't you come back with me to my house? We have some beers, we'll hang out." And then he tells me, he's like, "I can't. Um, I'm being followed by men in black." And this is what happened. He tells me about that he witnessed some extraterrestrial event. This is a true story. I'm not making this up. He witnessed an extraterrestrial event, something, and ever since then, men in black have been following him and trying to kill him. And that's where it gets weird. You know, I really had to put myself in check, because at that point in my life, I can't say I've ever talked to anybody that came across like that. And if he was schizophrenic or something like that, you know, whatever. But I didn't know back then. And the seriousness in his voice and when he was talking to me was concerning. So anyway, he's telling me that he's living in a bomb shelter behind a friend's house, and he's actually found that there's been bleach put in his water jugs, and some other things that were literally he felt like they were trying to kill him. Then a car pulled up in front of the Dunkin' Donuts, and he got kind of freaked out. And at one point, I just got up and left. I said, "Well, if you're not gonna," when I invited him over, he was like, "That's not a good idea because I would put everybody in danger coming over. You would all be in danger. So that's why I'm here, hanging out at Dunkin' Donuts." Because they won't come in, you know, if they pull up or whatever, they won't come in. They'll wait and then they'll leave. I'm like, man, I am just tripping out on this guy. But that's what happened. And then I went back to the house and told everybody at the house the story, and they were like, you know, I mean, everybody was drinking, and they thought it was funny or whatever. And I think, you know, friends took me seriously and believed me, but it just sounded silly, I guess, you know. Then a friend comes back with mushrooms and gives me some kind of a Liberty cap or something, and we're on mushrooms there at the house. And I'm just tripping out, you know, like throughout the night I'm telling different people this story. I also have Montage of Heck, and I put that on when I was on mushrooms. And it was very bizarre. Actually, a few people listened to it together at the house. Yeah, so that's that story. I have more Albuquerque stories, but that's paranoid. What would you say? He was being followed by the men in black, and you know, I mean, it sounds funny. Because most people out there, that's never happened to them, you know. I personally believe in extraterrestrials for sure. I really do. I think it's beyond possible. So the possibility that this was going on, especially in Albuquerque, man. I mean, that's not the only time that I talked to somebody that had a weird story, but I'll save that for next time. All right, thanks for listening. Bye.